Hello, Soundies. Welcome to today's Sound for Video session. Today is the 15th of October, 2023. Great to have you here today. Let's jump right over to our agenda because we've got a lot to cover today. First off, our topic, well, first of all, let me kind of talk about how we're going to do things today. This is going to be more of a workshop. So just pretend like we're in the same space and we're going to set up as many Automixers as we can in the hour that we have together. We're going to work together as a team to make that happen. That's going to mean some awkward pauses while I disconnect a bunch of cables from one mixer and connect them into another mixer and maybe change out cables into the camera so that it goes out on the live stream. So if that's not your jam, then what you might want to do is come back once the stream is done tomorrow morning or so. We'll get the whole thing indexed and you can jump from place to place with basically shortcuts. So it'll make it a lot quicker if you're not into that kind of thing, but just wanted to kind of let you know ahead of time. All right, next up, so our topic today, Automixers. We're going to come back to that, and the reason for that is I think it's going to take most of our time today. So we're actually going to go and take a look at the questions that were submitted ahead of time first, and the first one was from Hildo. This is, Hildo and I have been kind of talking about things, trying to find a podcast mixer for him. Any chance you're going to talk about the Allen Heath CQ12T or 18T that you recommended me to look at? I wonder how these mixers would be good in podcast situations in terms of possibilities compared to the Mackie DLZ. I've tried the Rode, and my feeling is that if something goes wrong, it's not as easy to find what's going on. The DLZ is simpler, even in pro mode. I would say, Hilda, then you're probably not... I can talk about the Allen Heath as much as I can. I don't have the funds to buy one right now and actually do a hands-on thing with it at the moment, but the DLZ is probably about the simplest you're going to get in terms of simple interface. My experience with the Allen Heath mixers, and we're going to use one today, the SQ5, so a relative of the CQ series, they are a lot more flexible and powerful, and that means that, as you said, your feeling with the Rode is that if something goes wrong, it's harder for you to figure out what's going on. I don't know that it's going to get easier than the DLZ. The DLZ is pretty straightforward. Even the Rode is pretty straightforward relative to these other mixers from Allen Heath. These Allen Heath and a lot of other professional grade mixers out there are made for professionals that know their way around a board or a digital mixer and need a lot of power, a lot of flexibility. And so there are, yes, a lot of settings and a lot of places that things can be misconfigured. So if we have funds closer to the end of the year, maybe we'll pick one up or maybe we'll find a way to borrow one, but it's not right on the horizon, just to set the right expectation there. So I'm thinking the DLZ is probably going to be a better fit than that for you. All right, Carl has a question here. I have a Sound Devices MixPre 10.2 with the MixAssist plugin. I also have the Noise Assist plugin. I use a combination of Sanken COS 11, DPA 4060, and Countryman B3 microphones. I am planning to record a panel discussion of 4 to 5 people in front of an audience. I will probably offer a sound feed to house sound, which is interesting. It's kind of the inverse of what usually happens. Usually house sound will take care of these kind of things. So what advice can you give me to make the Automix plugin work at its best in this situation? Would you try to use the Noise Assist plugin along with the MixAssist plugin? All right, a few things. Yes, I think I would what would I... MixAssist is basically an on or off. So the settings or the configuration that you can do is how closely people are seated to one another. The farther apart you can get them, the better. Keep in mind, you're working with omnidirectional lavalier microphones. So the more distance you have between the participants, the less likely you're going to get microphone bleed and comb filtering and all the issues that come with miking multiple people with open mics at the same time in the same space. So that's the first thing. You don't have to, I'm not talking like don't have to set them like 2 meters apart or anything like that, but if you can spread them out just a little bit, that can help a ton. MixAssist relies on close miking. So you're using lavalier microphones, so as long as you gain each of them up appropriately, then I think that'll work nicely. Spreading the people out a little bit, those are the two biggest things. And then, yeah, I would certainly attempt to use Noise Assist if you're picking up a good bit of noise. Noise Assist can help kind of put the finishing touches on that and clean things up just a little bit more on top. But first I get the MixAssist working. Again, it's just on or off for each channel, so you have to make sure you turn it on for all 4 or 5 of the participants. And That's the biggest thing. Listen with your ears carefully. Make sure that it's not cutting out. If you're getting one person that kind of keeps getting their microphone maybe is cutting out, that probably means they're not gained up enough. So you might need to gain them up a little bit more, but that's the main thing to look for. Spread them out a bit. Listen. If somebody keeps cutting out, gain them up just a little bit more, and you should be in a pretty good spot. So those are some things there. All right, we also had a question in the chat that we're going to go to, and Danny has something here. Here, you have a mic. Oh, you don't need a mic. Okay, you just need me to read this. Omnis are the wrong choice if you're putting these mics into a PA system. I mean, yeah, I mean, I would ideally use, honestly, I'd use desk stands or, dynamic mics if I could. That would be my first choice. I don't disagree with you, Jim, on that. That may or may not be an option. So in any case, yeah, to answer your question, or to kind of put a finer point on that for you, Carl, if you can use dynamic mics instead, even if they're just like Shure SM58s, you're going to get a cleaner mix overall. Probably. All right. Next up from Camille, Dante is often used for audio. Dante AV, audio and video, is less common. What is the reason for this? The latter seems of added value to me. I think the biggest thing is, if I had to guess, Camille, is that it's just later to the market than NDI. So NDI has been doing the video, the video capability along with audio for some time. Dante was purely audio until they released AV. So they're kind of coming from different places. You have NDI on one side that's been more video focused, and you've had Dante, which is audio focused, and they're both coming to the middle where they're offering both audio and video. So I think the reason that you just don't see more adoption of Dante AV yet, at least, is that a lot of installations that are very reliant on that type of technology are already using NDI for video. So changing out the infrastructure is one thing. Also, you'll see that in the manufacturers. So if you're using NDI, a lot of times they're using PTZ cameras, and PTZ cameras are more likely to be NDI enabled. I don't think I've seen any that are Dante enabled just yet. There may be some out there. It's just not a part of the market I'm familiar with, but I think NDI has been in that space longer, and there have been NDI capable PTZ cameras for a longer period of time. So just time to market. And that's the short answer. Thanks so much for the super chat also. Okay. Oh, okay. Christopher says, Dante Video is pretty new. Viable products only really out since end of COVID and the chip shortage issues. It's a latecomer compared to NDI, which is the market leader in video over IP. Yep, same. Dante Audio is by far the market leader when it comes to audio over IP. Agreed. That's exactly what I've seen as well, Christopher. Okay. Do we have any questions in the chat here before we move on to Automixers? We do. I would not want to mix a panel without a mixer. I like my mix pre, but you can't move as fast as you can with a mixer. This is in regards to Carl's question. Then again, as an experienced mixer, maybe it's just me. Yeah, physical faders always make it easier, but that's where Automix, I think, can be a handy thing. And you can use one of the third-party control surfaces if that's helpful for you, but the Automix can be pretty helpful. But yeah, trying to rely on those little knobs, these little fader knobs, that's especially as crowded as they are, that'd be a tough way to mix if you're actively mixing. And by actively mixing, I mean constantly adjusting faders to fine-tune the sound. Which, on that topic, let's go ahead and jump in. Unless there are any other questions, let's go ahead and jump into automixing, why automixing is even a thing and what it is useful for. So we have 3 microphones in the room. Let me just give you a demonstration. So here's my mic. You're hearing me. I'm going to bring up Danny's mic. So Danny, your mic is live now.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. We have a third mic in the room, and you can probably hear that. Especially as I turn and talk over here, you can hear that it's picking me up a little bit over there. And let me just look at that channel. That's an MKH50. And even if I pull my mic down here some, you can still hear me to some extent on that other mic. And now I'm bringing my mic back up. Let's go back to the main screen. So you're getting what's called microphone bleed. Also, because we have 3 live microphones in this same space, I've got a fan in this camera right now that I intentionally did not turn off today. It's also a fan in the little switcher, the A10 Mini Extreme, which is sitting down here. Those fans, to some extent, are picked up by all of the microphones as well. So these are 3 condenser microphones in this case. We have Earthworks Ethos right here in front of me. Danny's on a Rode NT5 actually. And then we have the MKH50 over here, probably about a meter away. So the problem is you get microphone bleed. That's when I talk, these other mics also pick me up, not just my mic. So obviously at a lesser level, but if they're really close, you start to get comb filtering as well, because you get some time differences as to when my voice arrives at this microphone versus that microphone or that microphone. And then you get constructive and destructive interference, and it starts to sound not great. In addition to that, when you have multiple mics open in the same space, the noise floor comes up because they're all picking up whatever noise is in the space. So that makes it challenging. So the solution traditionally has been, long time ago, and even today, still very valid, you can actively mix. You can take the faders for the microphones that aren't currently being used and pull them back some so that they're not contributing to the mix at that moment. And then when that person comes on to talk again, you can push their fader up and drop the others down. That's what you would ideally do. And in fact, for podcasts that are recorded with multiple participants in the same space, or for movies, when you're doing dialogue editing, you generally are cutting out the parts where someone's mic is active, it's actually recorded them, but they're not currently talking or contributing anything to the particular piece. You cut those portions out. That's what you do to get the cleanest mix in the end. Now, what Automix does is it attempts to automate that for you to some extent, because it can be really tricky. So, for example, if you're doing a podcast and, currently one person's talking, so you have the faders for the other people pulled back or down, it can be hard to anticipate when another person's going to start talking. So you may be late pushing the fader back up to 0 or unity, which is kind of the normal level. So that's where manually mixing can be a challenge. Automix attempts to take care of that for you, and it can react very, very quickly when someone starts talking. And in addition to that, depending on the type of Automixer, it may do what's called gain sharing. So if multiple people are talking at the same time, it may pull both of them down a little bit. Or if one person's talking, it will keep the person that's talking's mic at, pretty close to unity, and then drop the others down and share an overall amount. So that's actually the principle that Dugan automixing, which is probably one of the best implementations out there from my experience, is that it actually shares overall. So overall, it gives an equal power throughout the entire mix, just adjusting the levels on all the different microphones that are currently active. So that's the idea. So right now you're hearing us. Let's go ahead and I've actually had Automix on. Let's turn it off. Okay, now Automix is turned off, and you can see if I get in between these two microphones, can you hear that phasing? Definitely. Or if I get more over here, you get that I'm off mic, but there's also a little bit of phasing. And then Danny, if you talk.
Hi, I'm over here in the corner with this mic.
Okay, it's not too bad, but here I'm going to go ahead and turn the Automix on. Okay, Automix is now on, and what I'm noticing here is that it's actually, as I talk, it is doing a little bit of that gain sharing. So on the DLZ, I'm on the Mackie DLZ right now. I don't know if I said that, and I should have said that, but the Mackie DLZ has an auto mix feature. It's okay. It's not the best auto mix I've ever experienced. And why I say that is that when you come into the auto mix feature, and if you want to see what this looks like in particular, we'll probably do another video on the main channel here in the next little while on this. But first of all, you set priorities for each microphone. So you choose which microphones are going to be in the auto mix. In other words, which the console, the mixer, should try to auto mix and share gain between them. But you also set priorities. So for example, in this case, Danny and I are both set to high priority. And then, and then this third mic was set to medium priority. So that's sort of a ducking kind of algorithm. So what it does is it essentially makes it so that whoever's talking into the high priority mics, the mixer is less likely to pull those back very much if they're getting any sort of signal at all. If they're a medium, in theory, if they're a medium priority, they're more likely to pull them back. And if you set them as low priority, they're going to be very aggressive about pulling them back. In fact, in those cases, it may be hard to get any audio into them, depending. But that's the general idea of how the DLZ Automix works. Not the best implementation I've ever experienced, but it works. And so what that means is I don't have to actively or constantly be on the faders here if I'm part of the show in particular. And that's a case with a lot of people that are recording podcasts. They're generally the host as well as the mixer. And so there's a lot going on and a lot for them to think about and to be managing. So it's hard to be a great host on a podcast if you're doing, for example, an interview or even just hosting the show in some way, to keep your mind 100% focused on the actual content if you're also having to mix. Now, there are people that can do it and effectively do it, but that's a lot to do. So that's where Automix can come in and potentially help. I'll go ahead and turn it off again. Okay, now it's off so that you can hear what that sounds like. Okay, let's take a quick pause and see what's in the chat. We currently have Automix off with 3 microphones live in this little space. All right, what Automix system are you currently using? So Mark, this is the Mackie DLZ that we currently have on. Right now it's off, but that's what I was demonstrating just a moment ago.
There's an unrelated question.
Okay, let's go ahead and take it while we've got it. On your recommendation, I got the AI Micro and about to do interview using the Rodecaster Wireless Go. Is the new BlackMagic camera app able to use this setup? Should be able to. It depends on, yeah, it should be able to. I would test it, certainly, Jules, before you get into that, but yeah, it should be able to. Cool. Okay. All right, so that's the first one. Any other questions about Automix? Go ahead and put it in here. Ideally, tag it with @CurtisJetAudio. I'm orienting myself for a mixer for broadcasting graduation ceremony. For example, no music, preferably with Dante. What do you recommend? Yamaha, Midas, Allen Heath, Soundcraft? Oh, well, it's a little bit like religion. And anyone that disagrees with me, they can disagree. I use Allen Heath. Yamaha makes some great boards. I don't have experience with Midas or Soundcraft, but I'm sure they make some quality stuff as well. But yeah, my experience is with Allen Heath, just because it is, and any of those can do a fine job, as you know, as long as they're Dante capable or enabled. All right. So here's where things get interesting. So we're going to do something different here. I've got a variety of different auto mixers we can show. I've got the Allen Heath SQ5, which is a mixing board. I have the Sound Devices 888, which has 2 flavors of auto mixing, 2 different algorithms. MixAssist, which is the Sound Devices developed auto mixing algorithm. And then also it has Dugan auto mixing, which is licensed from Dan Dugan, who is the one who invented it. And then I also have a Zoom F8N Pro right here. The trick is that if I'm going to demonstrate these, I have to disconnect everything that we have set up and reconnect the other ones. So let's hear I'm thinking I'm going to try the Allen Heath first. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go we'll go to the agenda feed. And while that's up, we're going to go ahead and play a little bit of music. I'm going to mute our microphones while I'm disconnecting and reconnecting things. Things may get a little funny here, but go ahead and carry on in the chat, and we'll be back with you in just a couple minutes here. So stand by. We're going to get the Allen Heath hooked up. Okay. Can you hear us out on the live stream? That's the question. You can hear us. Question is, can everyone else out there hear us? It's going to be a little quieter. I think that's okay. It actually may be just left channel. Check, 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 check. Or right channel. Give me just a moment here. We'll split this. Okay, so you should be hearing us now on left and right. Okay. What have we got in the chat here? Just want to confirm that everything's sounding good before we move forward with this.
Here you go.
Very quiet. Can hear, but only in the left channel. We've got that fixed. Right channel. We should be coming in on both channels now. And let's see where we're peaking here. On the meters, we can go ahead and boost that up. Checking, checking, 1, 2. That's going to be a little bit closer to where we were before, right there. So let's go ahead and get a read from the audience and how that's sounding. Okay, sounds okay. Pending, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go forward with it. So we've got 3 microphones open right now. I've got this microphone over here. Can you hear me on this right now? Okay, checking, checking, 1, 2. This one seems a lot quieter, so we're going to go ahead and...
It's plenty loud in my headphones.
It's plenty loud in your headphones? Okay, all right. And then you go ahead and talk on yours.
Hi, we're on a different setup now, and this is Danny on this mic, which is a Rode something or other.
Okay, all right. All right, seems like I'm coming in a lot louder on... am I a lot louder to you?
Well, I'm taking my headphones off when I talk because I want to sound coherent.
You're not very loud, so I need to bump you up. Go ahead and keep talking.
Hi, this is Danny. It's Sunday afternoon. I'm talking into this mic, and I'm really not sure what to say, which you can probably guess. It seems a little louder now, even though I'm not using my headphones, so I don't really know.
Okay, I think we're good there. All right, that's better. Okay. All right, so I have Automix turned off currently. The Allen Heath SQ5 has what they call their automatic microphone mixer. They have it on most of their digital boards, their newer generation digital boards certainly. And let's go ahead. I can definitely hear some noise floor. Hear those fans?
Matt says it's too loud.
It's too loud. It's too loud. Okay.
Oh, says that I'm a lot louder than you.
Okay, so Danny's too loud.
I was fine before.
Okay, how about now? Checky, check, check. 1, 2.
And here's my mic.
Oh, because I'm listening to the wrong headphones. Okay, checking, checking.
Checking, checking.
And checking, checking.
That almost sounded like chicken, chicken.
Chicken, chicken, but
yes.
We're checking. Okay, so my mistake, forgot to change to the right microphone, or headphones. I'm going to move over to the mixer for just a second here.
Oh, now somebody said they don't hear me.
Okay, and then I'm on this other microphone.
We don't know.
We are... It seems to be working here, and we have confirmation from at least one other person on the stream, so we're going to go with it. All right, I'm going to switch over and turn on the automatic mixer.
This is the workshop portion, folks.
Yeah, this is the workshop. Okay. All right. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm talking on one microphone here. And is it doing anything? Let's see.
How many screens do you have to visit to figure this out?
3.
Okay, now here's a latest comment. Hearing you both fine, I'm a little louder.
Okay. All right, that's fine. I think we're good there. What I'm not sure on is why it's not automatically mixing right now. So it should be. Okay, there it is. You hear the noise floor drop suddenly? Go ahead and talk.
Yes,
Okay, you can say more than yes.
I can hear it drop a bit.
Okay.
All of a sudden.
And then I'm going to come over here onto my main mic again. And I'm not hearing a lot of bleed. And I'm hearing a little bit less noise floor. So that is the perfect example of how an automatic mic mixer should work. So you have a question?
We have a comment that says the side mic is plosive city.
The side mic is plosive city. That's because I don't have the foam on it. Apologies for that. I'll put it on for the next sample. Thanks for the advice. So here's an example, I think, of a very effective automatic mixer. The interesting thing about the Allen Heath is that it's a little bit more aggressive. And what it does also is it allows you to set a high pass filter and a low pass filter. So basically you can choose just a kind of a center set of frequencies or a band of frequencies that you want it to use to detect whether or not the microphone is currently being talked into. So what I've done here is I've set the high pass filter to 250 hertz and the low pass to about 5 kilohertz. So it's just looking between about 250 hertz and 5 kilohertz. And if it's getting a lot of energy there, it's going to assume that microphone is currently being talked into. And if the other microphones don't also have a lot of signal coming into them, it'll pull those other microphones down. And that's how you get the quieter noise floor, less microphone bleed, and less comb filtering. So this is the Allen Heath automatic mic mixer. Sound good to you?
Sounds nice.
Yeah, okay. So there's that one. All right, now it's time to take another break while we swap out to the Sound Devices 888, and we'll demonstrate both the MixAssist and Dugan Automixing. So with that, I'll go ahead and cue up some music here. And here we go. Talk to you in just a minute. Can you all hear us out there? We may have been live for a while. Okay, so you should be able to hear us out there. Can we just get a thumbs up? Okay. We should be getting levels here. Let me just get on my mic here. Checking 1, 2, 3. Checking 1, 2, 3. I could gain up a touch there.
We have a yes.
We have a yes.
Yep. I hear you.
Okay. Checking 1, 2. That's good. This microphone. You hearing this one okay, Danny? Checking
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
Actually, Matt said yes. I hear Curtis, no Danny yet.
Okay.
But
Go ahead and talk into yours.
Okay. Checking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2,
Keep.
9, 8, 6, 1. Checking 1, 2, 3. Checking 1, 2, 3. Okay, I hear Danny is a comment.
Keep going.
Okay, I hear Danny, but I still need to keep talking, and so I am talking, while Curtis is moving knobs. Yeah, I need to keep talking. So, talk. Oh, Danny seems off mic. Yes, perhaps. I'm not as good with mic usage as Curtis, so he has a lot more experience with this kind of stuff. Checking 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. Danny is a bit quiet compared to before. Yes, both Danny quieter than Curtis. Am I talking? Do I need to talk louder? Checking 1, 2, 3. I'm just talking normally. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 3, 6, 9, 12. Oh, I got to think about that one. 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 36. I can hear you.
Okay, we have a problem here. So I need to figure out, this is where it's workshopping. I'm coming through, okay, I'm peaking somewhere around minus 10 dB. I'm getting plenty of level on Danny on the 888. The output of the 888 is coming, let me just make sure nobody is panned. Go ahead and talk again, Danny.
Checking 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. Mic check 1,
No,
2, 3.
you're panned correctly.
Check. Do you want me to keep going?
Nope.
Okay. She just went down just then. That would be a few seconds ago. Danny is still much quieter compared to when you had stuff running through the SQ5.
Okay. All the faders are at unity. So as I talk in here, I'm connected to the switcher, so I'm getting program audio. What are you looking for?
The Sherlock Holmes thing? Where's that?
What are you looking for?
I have a request for a Sherlock Holmes quote.
Oh.
Where's the...
Yes. There
All
you
right,
go.
here we go. Do you want me to keep talking? It was easier to know it than to explain why I know it. If you were asked to prove that 2 and 2 made 4, you might find some difficulty, and yet you are quite sure of the fact. Okay,
let's pause there. So, if you were in this situation and you hear me okay, I'm coming through, I'm not the hottest I've ever been in terms of levels here, but I can come up a little bit more, checking levels here. There we go. So I'm peaking around minus 10, maybe minus 5 at the most. I'm coming through fine. And then when Danny talks, go ahead.
Checking, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Checking, 1, 2, 3. This is Danny's mic. This is the Rode something or other. That's what I'm going to call this mic. Checking, 1, 2,
It sounds
3.
like she's completely off mic, which doesn't make sense. So I'm going to turn off the Automixer altogether.
Okay, here's the latest quotes. Danny keeps getting quieter. Curtis 9, Danny 4. Yes for the Sherlock Holmes quote. Curtis is fine, but Danny is very quiet. Danny's mic is not coming through, just room sound from the other mics. Now we have
Oh, wait.
one that
Stand
says
by.
better
Stand
now.
by. Stand by. Okay, go ahead, Danny.
Okay, check 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah,
5. Make sure you turn your mic on in the ATIM app. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know why it's splitting it. I don't know why. You're not panned on the 888, but she was coming in only on the right channel into the camera, which I don't understand. So if I go back, let me unsplit it. Okay, so now I'm coming in panned left. Go ahead and talk, Danny.
Check 1, 2, 3.
And Danny's
1,
on the
2,
right.
3.
So for whatever reason, it is panning us left and right. So I need to look at the routing here.
Now I'm super loud.
Yeah, you are.
Huzzah, somebody said.
Okay, so I'm going to come into the channel menus. I should now be panned left.
Yes.
Now I should be center.
Okay.
And now I should be right. But it's not.
No.
It's not. So there's some sort of routing thing going on here, and that means that I need to check my outputs on the 888. So I'm going to do that. Outputs on my left line out. It's taking channel 1. So this is what's misconfigured. So I just need to give it the left channel.
So how many menus are you scrolling through?
Just the output menu, and then the output on here should be right. Okay, so let's try that again. So I should be coming out both left and right channel.
Okay, and here we go. Check 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3.
Don't whisper, talk.
Okay, checking 1, 2, 3. This is Danny on this mic.
All right, we are good. So, and then here is the other mic. Checking 1, 2, checky check. This is the Sennheiser MKH50. Ooh, okay. So here's a non-Automix sound. So we got everything worked out. Thank you, everybody. Now we're going to go to our Automixer, and we're going to enable Dugan. Okay, the Dugan Automixer is now enabled. So Danny, you can go ahead and talk.
Check 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, okay. And then if I'm kind of over in the middle here, a little bit closer to this mic, it's going to mix it so that it's primarily being picked up here, but a little bit over there as well. And this is when we were answering that question earlier for Carl. This is why you want to put space between your microphones. Even with the Automix feature on of any sort of Automix, the more separation and more distance you can get between your people, generally the better it's going to sound and the better it's going to be able to automix. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind. Okay, so this is, again, Dugan automixing. The advantage of Dugan is it's not necessarily super aggressive, but it is generally very transparent. In other words, it won't be obvious that something is trying to process the sound, trying to make a cleaner mix. MixAssist will be much more, at least in theory, is more aggressive, and in my experience, it's more aggressive. So let's switch over to MixAssist and see what we get here. All right. Okay, now we are on MixAssist, and what MixAssist will generally do is it will probably be better at reducing the overall noise floor.
Can you show them what you're doing? Like that you
I would
have
love
that...
to, but I'm not set up to do that.
No. Can you just show them that the device is in a bag?
Oh, yeah,
like so they can see what you're...
I'm working with this over here.
There you go.
And this room is so crowded right now with all the equipment we have in it, there's no room for an overhead camera. So I apologize. Again, like I said, it's more of a workshop today. We will have probably a better video where we actually walk through it and give better visuals so you can see all the things that we're doing here. But this is MixAssist, and generally what it will do is it'll be a little bit more aggressive as far as noise floor is concerned. Danny, do you want to read that quote for us?
Yes, I would love to. It was easier to know it than to explain why I know it. If you were asked to prove that 2 and 2
I might start talking
made
and keep
4,
going.
you might find some difficulty, and yet you are quite sure of the fact. It
So
was easier to know it
that's the
than to
challenge,
explain why
is
I
when
know it.
people start
If you
talking
were
over
asked
each other.
to prove that 2 and 2 made 4, you want me to keep going?
No, we're good.
Okay.
Okay, so that's MixAssist. What I found with MixAssist is that it's a really useful algorithm as well for automixing. I find that it's a little bit more aggressive, but potentially a little bit less transparent than Dugan. So just two different ways of approaching the problem of recording multiple people with multiple open mics in the same space. But there's an example of that. So let's pause there. Let's go to the chat and see what questions we may have going in the chat. I'm going to set this bag down. Okay, we can go back out to the main camera too when you get a sec there. All right, Danny's scouring through the chat. Mark says, output routing seems to have done it. Yes, I had the output routing set up so that routing, if you're not in the United States, routing if you are, or depending how you say it. I had it so that channel 1 was routed to the left output and channel 2 was routed to the right output, which is what we eventually kind of triangulated on the problem and figured it out, because we had the stereo channels split out in the ATEM mix in the ATEM switcher, and Danny was only on the right, and I had the right muted because we weren't using the right before. So that's how we figured it out. But yeah, it was the output routing on the 888. Taking a look through the chat. The only one we haven't really looked at yet that I have on hand is the Zoom F8N Pro. Zoom has Automix in, and I'll get to Mark your question in just a second here. The Zoom F8N Pro and the F6 and the F8N and the original F8 and the F4 all have the same flavor of Zoom Automix, and we can take a listen to that as well. I've generally not found that one to be as effective. It's very subtle. So, Mark, pending job recording interviews with multiple couples, since there are multiple couples, I want to suspend 2 mics above each and use MixAssist and Noise Assist instead of lavs. Since I'm running solo, usually MO. Advised for mic positioning to optimize. It's going to be a little trickier with boomed mics, I'll be honest. Automix works best with when you're close miking, so something like this kind of situation here, or lavaliers even. That's when it works the very best. With boom mics, it's not generally quite as obvious, but MixAssist can help. I think the secret is, you just want to use the polar patterns of your microphones to isolate each of them from each other as much as possible, position the people so that they're not too close if possible. Again, just physically farther apart, that can help. You're going to want to manage, all the normal things, Mark. Manage the reverberation in the room in as much as possible. Get some blankets hanging outside a frame so that it's kind of mellows out the room if you need to do that. Or even on the floor. If you can't put them anywhere else, at least put them on the floor if you've got a hard floor. That can help a lot. But yeah, use the polar patterns to help isolate each person from the other person's microphones. So what I mean by that in particular, in more specific terms, is that if you're using a cardioid mic, you want the back of the cardioid mic facing the other people and the front of the microphone facing the person that it's intended to pick up, and the same for the other people. So, ideally, you'd have everyone sitting in a circle at least a meter apart from each other, and that they would be within, maybe 10 or 15 centimeters of their mic, closer to 10 if possible. So that would be the ideal situation. So if you can optimize that, the polar patterns for isolation and space between people for isolation. If you are booming mics, get them hopefully you're doing head and shoulder framing on them, and get that boom mic in as close as you can. Mark, can certainly hear the difference between MixAssist and Dugan. Absolutely. And again, I would say, Dugan sounds more natural and transparent to my ear, and then MixAssist sounds more aggressive and a little bit cleaner. All right. Oh, it's Hildo. About the DLZ, if the guests are close and you cannot add distance by using Automixer aggressively, like selecting a lower priority would be the way to go. Yes, I think so. I would probably, for depending, if you have someone that's going to be in the podcast that doesn't say much at all, you can set them to low priority. And then the host should be set to high priority and others should be set generally to medium priority. The DLZ, again, Automix is not super aggressive, which is good from the standpoint that it's not super obvious that you're using it. But on the other hand, on the flip side of that, it's also not as aggressive, so it doesn't do as much to clean things up. But I'll be honest, the biggest thing you can do is get microphones close. Each person's microphone as close as possible to them, as reasonably possible to them, and space people out. I realize there are constraints there, but those are the kind of the optimizations that you can make that make the biggest difference. But yeah, then you can set priorities on them as well, Hildo. Matt, the best panel discussion I was on the crew for, the lead sound engineer had everything on Countryman E6, and it was great. They were 2 yards apart. So people were pretty well spaced, and they were using the ear set microphones. Again, close miking. So, yep, when you're trying to isolate, that helps whether you're using Automix or not. It gets even better when you're using Automix. But yeah, close miking, using those ear-hung microphones. Those are really, I think they're great for presentations, stage presentations. People can see that they're wearing them, but there's part of me that wants to just tell people that I don't want any microphones seen in frame. I'm like, you're not making a movie. We're trying to understand what these people are talking about, and what's important is the content. And if the content's important, hearing it really, really well and not having annoying noise and comb filtering and microphone bleed and all that kind of those issues, then close miking is a way to go, and ear set microphone is a great way to do that. Completely agree, Matt. Can you dial in MixAssist to be less aggressive? No, it is either on or off. So there's no kind of strength setting of any sort. It's either on or off. Same with Dugan. It's on or off, on at least on the 888. It's on the DLZ where you can set a priority for each of the mics, which makes a little bit of a difference. And then on the Allen Heath, I don't think there was a way to kind of adjust the strength again. You could adjust the high pass and low pass filters that do the detecting of whether or not someone's talking on their mic, but I don't think that would really change the strength necessarily. Not really clear. I haven't used that one a whole lot, but I don't think there's a way to do that. Good question, though. Good question. Okay.
I have a question about the priority, setting the priority. You mentioned that if somebody wasn't going to say much, you could set them to lowest priority. But what if it mutes them when they actually do say something? And what if they say something really important to the podcast?
That's good. Experiment with it. They need to be close to their mic is going to be the most important thing. So if you do set someone to low priority, they're going to have to be on their mic. I wouldn't use a boom mic in that situation. I'd get them on a close mic, and they should be fine in that circumstance. But the thing with the priority is it's kind of that's really largely about managing when people are talking over each other. And I think Americans have more of a tendency to do that than in other countries, but maybe I'm wrong about that. When we get in these heated discussions, sometimes we have a tendency to talk over each other, but I think that's largely what the priority is sorting out, is so that when you do have multiple people talking, obviously if you set the host to high priority, they're going to be most prominent when you're talking through things. So that's how that works. All right, what's the difference between ducking and automix? So ducking is basically just, ducking, the concept of ducking, I think of it most commonly in the case where you have someone talking, like a radio announcer talking, and you have music playing in the background. And what the ducking typically does is, as soon as the host starts talking, the music is attenuated, it's brought down. And that's the same thing when you have auto ducking, for example, on the Rodecaster, and even to some extent the Automix on the DLZ where you set the priorities. It's just at that point sorting out who gets attenuated the most. So the person on low priority gets attenuated the most. Person on medium priority gets attenuated some, and the host doesn't get attenuated, is basically how that, or some variation of that. So that's kind of the main idea between ducking. Auto mixing, if you have, for example, with MixAssist, if you have multiple people talking, instead of one person getting priority over the other, they all come down some. So that's how it's distinct in most auto mixing algorithms. And the same with Dugan. Dugan is always sharing. So it's basically calculating math the entire time. The whole system, all of the microphone inputs always equal one, always equal one. And if the main person talking is going to get the most, and the microphones that aren't picking up as much are going to get attenuated even more. So they're going to get less of the overall presence in the mix, if you will. So that's one way to think about it that hopefully helps. Okay, any other questions out there in the chat? All right. I don't know that we have time to switch over to the Zoom F8N Pro. We've actually demonstrated that in our some of our reviews. So if you go take a look, for example, at the F6 review, I know we covered it there, and I believe in the F8N review, we also did an example of Automix there. In short, I would say that the F8N Pro Automix is somewhere in the same kind of category as a DLZ, except you don't get to choose priorities. It's not super aggressive, so it doesn't generally mess up your mix ever. It doesn't make mixing mistakes, but it also doesn't help as much. It doesn't clean things up quite as much. And again, for all of these, close miking is going to make a big difference and separate, putting space between people. And so that's kind of the upshot. That's my experience with it. All right, let's go back out to the chat and see what other questions we have. If you have a question, if you could just tag at Curtis Judd Audio, that'll make it easy for Danny to find that, and we will address your question. So I've found myself saying a lot more lately, and I'm going to work on that. I'm just going to use silence instead of a crutch word like Are we all caught up on the chat? Danny says, your mic's still live, by the way. You can talk. Not rough. At Fox Sports, they put the mic through the tie, the Shure TL48, for the women all currently on handhelds except in studio, where they shotgun off camera. Okay. Interesting. So Fox Sports, they put, for the men wearing ties, they put a Shure TL48 in the knot of the tie, is I assume what you're talking about there, Matt. That's a pretty common place to hide a lavalier microphone. For the women, they currently use handheld microphones, except in studio. And in those cases, they're using a shotgun microphone off camera. Interesting. So that's for Fox Sports. Interesting insight. Thanks so much for that, Matt.
On the tie, does that then look like a little tie clip?
No, it's actually in the knot of the tie. So they actually hide it in the knot, and they put just the very tip of the microphone kind of peeks out at the bottom of the knot, is usually how it's configured. It's a little bit throaty. It's not the most optimal position, to be honest, but it is one way to do it without getting... It's safe in terms of avoiding clothing rustle for the most part, so that's why it's often used. That's the thing, is that lavalier hiding is such an art.
They could make it decorative.
They could make it decorative.
Like,
that's true.
wear the mic.
That's true. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to news or anything that's not a narrative film, even documentaries, I don't mind seeing a mic if it sounds good. That's my personal preference. I don't know why some people are so opposed to seeing mics, but they are, and they're welcome to their opinion and their preference. That's fine. But for me, I'm going to get the sound, and I'm going to see them. I'm okay seeing the mic. That's where I'm at. All right, anything come into the chat here that we need to take a look at?
We've covered it so far. See if we get any others.
Okay, good. We have just a few more minutes here. We're still on the 888. We're using MixAssist right now, I believe.
Oh, here's one.
Here's a good one. Okay.
You can answer this.
Is Danny this quiet in real life?
I can't answer that.
Well, let's hear you.
You need to answer that. I don't know. I mean, volume of talking, amount of talking, or like what do you call it? Volume, but loudness. What? Oh, no. No. I'm going to dig a hole for myself.
Anyway, it sounds like I'm gained up more to answer your question, Matt. Go ahead and keep talking.
I wonder if he's asking if I just don't talk that much.
No, I think he's talking about loudness. He's wondering if you're quiet. No, she's volume-wise, I think we're about the same, or loudness-wise, we're about the same.
I think I'm medium.
You're medium.
Medium volume.
Medium volume. That's right. She's not one of those people you go to a restaurant and go, gosh, I wish that person would be quiet over there. You're not that. Not even close. Okay. Hildo, since you're in contact with Mackie, do you think there's any chance they will upgrade their Automix system? I can definitely send, I've already given some feedback, but yeah, I'll happily give them more feedback. I think I'm excited to see, I hope that Mackie gets more aggressive at upgrading the firmware on their DLZ. I love the DLZ. I'd love to see some additional things. One we haven't tested yet, it now supports NDI audio. So that's pretty exciting. Another thing to test. And then, yeah, I'd love to see the Automix improve a little bit. So yeah, I'll definitely give that feedback to them. You bet. All right. On some British shows, I see lavs worn upside down. Why? One possible reason for that is that when you put them upside down, they're less likely to suffer from any sort of plosives. So if someone looks down while they're wearing a lavalier microphone, you can get a lot of plosives when the burst of air comes out of their mouth when they're saying P or B or T or other consonants like that. Having them upside down will make it so they're less likely to pick up plosives. There may be other reasons as well. Sometimes it can also make it not as much, but if you have someone with a super sibilant voice, it can help take the edge off of that a little bit as well. But oftentimes I think it's to avoid the plosives. Okay. Audio buff. The only time I've used automatic mic mixer in live is at the Oklahoma Senate and House chambers. 60 mics with one priority. Wow.
That's a challenge.
Maybe the Oklahoma Senate and House are especially considerate of each other, but I have to imagine that's going to be a lot of work for that automatic mic mixer to manage that. There's an interesting one here from Christopher on the DLZ and Mackie. Mackie has said there is a good amount of digital signal processing, or maybe it's FPGA headroom in the DLZ, so they can hopefully add and tweak stuff. That is great news. I think that the DLZ is essentially a PC with, I mean, the Rodecaster. We know the Rodecaster, for example, is basically a very specialized PC with a audio physical user interface, and it's running Linux, a highly customized version of Linux. I suspect the DLZ is something pretty similar to that too. So yeah, if they've got a lot of headroom, boy, I sure would like to see automatic mic mixing. Okay, time out. Not time out. Time up. Oh, time up. We're out. Okay, friends. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us on today's workshop. Get out there and make some great sound, and we will talk to you again next week. Take care, everybody.